We're live. Hey, good morning, everybody. Brian here. I'm in Lakeland, Florida today at the Aerospace Center for Excellence, which is Andy's gig here. Just thought I would pop on for a few minutes and say hello and give some updates on what's going on here in sunny Central Florida. And also, if you guys are out there, I invite you to comment if you have any questions as we go through the live stream today. So also, if you could give me an audio check here in the comments. Looks like it's doing pretty good, but just to make sure, somebody wants to give us a 5x5 or something. But go ahead and introduce yourself and briefly what you do here.
Good morning, Andy Evans. I'm the aircraft maintenance manager here for Sun and Fun and the Aerospace Center for Excellence. So I manage a team of folks that handle all the aircraft assets on property here.
All right, and what's this project that's behind us?
So this project is a almost complete Zenith 750 cruiser. We started working on it about 2 years ago, and it's going to be built. It's being built to teach people with physical disabilities how to fly, specifically someone that doesn't have the use of their legs. So we built the airplane with a set of hand controls, and we built the if you've seen the Zenith Super Duty, they have what they call the unpanel. We took that unpanel mount and kind of modified it a little bit to make it work for somebody, say, in a wheelchair. It's been a project mostly done by the high school students across the street, Central Florida Aerospace Academy, and that has been an absolute ton of fun. You know, we've had a few challenges. We hope to be done a lot sooner, but thanks to everything going on in the world lately, it's there was a period in time where it was just one or two people working on it. So we work on this airplane in addition to all the other duties we've got going on as well. So we really had planned on getting it done a little bit sooner than this, but we're happy to be saying we're rounding the corner to get it finished.
Sure. Well, let's jump around just a little bit. What are some of the specs on this? It's a Zenith 750 cruiser, pretty much straight from the factory stock as far as airframe goes, and then you've got a custom. It's not quite an unpanel as a unpanel, but talk about that. In fact, that was I posted a couple pictures the other day on social, and people were asking about that. Is it available in the cruiser? So tell everybody what you did to make it like an unpanel.
Yeah, so I don't really know what to call it, right? So you know, when we were at Zenith Open House last year, Justin Tisdale called it the TV mount with a Garmin attached to it. So some people call it the unpanel, some don't. So we ordered the mount from Zenith. It is the same mount that you see in their Super Duty, in their demonstrator. All the bracketry is the same. For the most part, that upper part of the firewall is the same between the 750 models. So they basically give you the blueprints to the Super Duty and to attach that. That being said, I get a lot of questions as well on, you know, can you put it in the stole? Can you do this? Can you do that? The answer is yes. It's not a lot of fun because you got to kind of figure out where things are supposed to go, and because it isn't the Super Duty,
because that part didn't come as a kit, you had to actually cut it up yourself.
Yeah, and you know, and the parts that Zenith are known for is that match drilled hole sizing. That is not there. You get some parts that are here you go, and you kind of scratch your head. You call Roger, hey, how's this supposed to work? He sends you another drawing, and it's like, it doesn't make any, for me, we still kind of sat there and said, can we make it better?
Yeah.
You know, and there was a lot of work. We used the center console to a point, modified the top side of it to make it kind of blend as a,
the Super Duty center console or the original cruiser console.
We kind of modified it to make it work for us.
Okay.
So I did something. So Garmin came on board very early, and Garmin wanted to throw a G3X in as part of the package. So that was the first challenge.
Okay.
Obviously Zenith had their unpanel, and they had their big 19-inch screen, I believe it is. And that's how you do it. Well, so the kit Zenith even sent us was not built for a G3X. So
that was more for a Dynon, probably. Or
I think it's a Tesla screen.
A Tesla screen.
Yeah, I think that big touch screen that they have in the Super Duty is
well, Sebastian drives a Tesla, so maybe that makes sense. Huh?
Yeah. So I that the application is really meant for that. So when the G3X idea came on board, these students at CFAA get SolidWorks at like 15 years old. They're certified in SolidWorks.
Yeah.
So we're sitting here, kind of what we're doing right now, just talking about the airplane, and I have this idea in my head, and the students say, "Oh, we can draw that up in SolidWorks." So here they are, an hour later, they come back with, "Is this what you meant?" Yes. And then as a group, we're like, "Well, let's put this in here. Let's put that in there." We put some cooling slots in the back, and as a group now, we were trying to morph this into a product we could work. So we went on to Garmin's website, found the specs, so to speak, for what's hole sizes you need, and kind of made that work for us. And as you see in the final product, I wanted the backside of the G3X to be open.
Yeah.
To me, that's kind of the cool, behind the scenes, if you will.
The rawness of it.
Yeah. So when we were talking to the guys at Gulf Coast, they're just like, "Why would you want to do that?" And whatnot. So we made it work. And again, it was an idea that we kind of came up with, and the students just knocking it out in a matter of a couple hours.
So it's got the kind of unpaneled style of ergonomics to be able to move around a Garmin, and then what downstream or upstream, I guess, what do you have powering that or controlling different things?
Yeah. So it's the same TV mount, if you will. I think it's a TV mount they got off Amazon back on the prototype. It's the same mount, same attachment to the firewall. And then there's where that plate bolts on is all new. So to get that to work, we had to run a wire loom down, and we put a little stainless steel sleeve around it. So tried to clean it up a little bit. And then you have to hide all the avionics. So the beauty of the G3X system and Garmin nowadays, Dynon has the same package. You can remote mount a lot of things. So the real fun, being sarcastic, was finding a home now for all these electronics. So in our aircraft, they sit under the seats.
Which is a nice little cubby under there, probably 1.5 by 1.5 by 5 or 6 inches or something.
Yeah. So your stock seat pans for a Zenith are, they've got the 4 big lightning holes and stuff in them. Well, when you do something to the effect of trying to get electronics boxes in there, and then you do the sliding seat option, it kind of really limits how you're going to, if I ever have to service it.
Gotcha.
So there's a gentleman out there, Michael Chesney. He has a company that he makes custom aluminum bits for aircraft. So we called him up, and I said, "Hey, this is what I want to do." I went back to Zenith, and they made me seat pans with nothing drilled out. They were bent, and they were cut to kind of where they needed to go. So then when we got the products from Michael, we made those work. And so now I've got nice big holes where we can get, if I have to replace a box, a line replaceable unit.
So you can move the seat, unbolt the seat, and then have access.
Yep. 4 bolts. Panel. And I think, 632 to like 10 screws. I can pull that whole box out. So I've got 4 of those in the cockpit. So 1 under each seat. And then behind, I've got a vertical power box behind the right seat. Okay. So again, I can move stuff around and replace things should there be some sort of issue or upgrade down the road. So there's a challenge in that, but at the same time, it's been fun, using the brain cells. How many times have we been at work in an office job and you didn't get to use your brain at all?
Yeah,
in
a good challenge.
Day? So every day has been using those brain cells.
A good challenge. Let me say hello to a couple people that commented here, and thanks for joining us today. Austin Clemens, will you be at Louisiana Stoll? That is the Swamp Stoll, which happens next week, June 10th to the 12th. Yes, I will be there. I'll probably be leaving on Wednesday to travel out. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So if you're going, say hello. Wax Factory, can you walk over and show us the panel? I don't know how long the extension cord is, but if I can, I will. Let's get through this conversation first. And Peter Toth, I'm glad you can make it. So going back to the panel just for a second, what was it an ergonomic thing to be able to have somebody with disabilities to be able to move that panel closer? So what was, or just the cool factor of having something new in this particular project?
So I'm the kind of guy that can't leave anything stock. That's the beauty of experimental airplanes. So the idea was born in the head when I saw that Super Duty pop up. The first time I hit an air show was like, oh, that's really cool. That's different. And then as the idea came to building an airplane for somebody with a physical disability, the thought was, again, we have to think like we're disabled.
Yeah.
So how do you get in and out of an airplane is the number one problem, right? Low-wing airplanes, you need some sort of gantry and a winch to get in and out. So we're trying to make it as easy and efficient to get in and out of that airplane. So
maximize your cabin space to maneuver an elbow or a shoulder to get in and out. And
so I tried to take an idea that I thought was absolutely brilliant. I tried to take an idea and make it as easy as possible for somebody who, say, doesn't have control of their legs. So you can roll your wheelchair up to the airplane, slide everything out of the way, and now they don't have to worry about hitting anything on a panel. They don't have to worry about, banging into anything. It hopefully will make it as easy as possible for them to get in and out. So that was really the thought process, and I just thought it was cool. I really get a kick out of something different. Even in its unfinished state at Sun and Fun, when we had it on display, people were like, I've never seen that before. So it's really cool. Even people walking through the hangar, they kind of scratch their head a little bit, and it's like, oh, that's different. That's neat. So it is
neat. It is cool. Another question that came up posting this, me being here this week. Oh, by the way, see that glowing door right there, which is top lit there? Still have the protective plastic. I built that door. I came down this week to help Andy. He's at the home stretch here, and I'm nearly at that point too on my build. But it was very enjoyable and very rewarding to build something like a door. In fact, I think that should be added to the list of things like a rudder kit. You have to have a little more available to you, like your airframe done, so you can measure things and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was a lot of fun building the door. It's kind of time consuming because there's so many steps, but it's really not that difficult. So
and I can't say it enough. Thank you so much for coming down this week and helping out.
It's been a blast. I do a lot of sitting behind or in front of the computer, however you want to say that. So it's good to get out of my workspace to be able to share workspace and actually work on an airplane with somebody else for a change. So anyway, back to the O200 question. Someone's asking about this is a Continental O200D model, which is their experimental. Explain a little bit about what the difference is on that compared to a standard O200.
So this one's actually the certified version.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is the engine that when the Skycatcher came out, that was the new craze, so much lighter and all that fancy stuff. Well, we don't know what happened to the Skycatcher. Now there's a company, Vachon. They have their Vachon Ranger. And that's what this engine initially was destined to be a part of. We were walking around at Oshkosh and ran into the folks at Continental, and we said, hey, we're looking for an engine. And they said, hey, how about this one? So there's a couple reasons. The O200 was really about simplicity for me. I know there's a dozen perfect engines for this airframe, and that's really, again, going back to Zenith, and the good bonus points about Zenith is they support many, many different kinds of engines. There are some beautiful engines for this. My goal was simplicity. I'm teaching high school kids how to work on airplanes. My volunteers have been working on Piper Cubs, and they've been working on O200s their entire life. So there is no, it's efficiency really, as far as doing that. And they can teach these kids as well.
Yeah.
So it's just, I've got a 9-year-old son, he was changing the oil the other day, and the kids are torquing spark plugs and stuff like that. Very, very common things they would see. I'm a mentor to these kids, both as a flight instructor, as an aircraft mechanic. So I am trying to apply something they will learn to apply that to maybe an A&P career, or something down the road. So efficiency in the engine, ease of maintenance, ease of use.
What is unique to this, excuse me, this specific model of making it lighter weight or whatnot?
So Continental, when they came out, I think their goal was like 30 pounds lighter. So if you look, the one of the big things that stands out is the cylinder fins are tapered. They took the parts of the engine that really weren't doing much, and they got rid of them. They changed the metallurgy in the aircraft, in the engine. If you look, the old kidney bean steel oil pan on the bottom is replaced with more of a modern looking welded structure, very tight and compact to the engine, but still has the same amount of oil in it. That's been also a challenge for us, is learning an engine that's really not new to the world, but everybody that's been around aviation their whole life says, oh, we'll just mount it here. Yeah, well, it doesn't work that way on the new ones.
Yeah.
The starter, the alternator are all
super lightweight.
Yeah, SkyTech starter, it's like a third the weight of the old one. The alternator is just this tiny little thing, puts out a ton of power. So modern day metallurgy, modern day electronics, and we've packed a boatload of sensors into it with the G3X. There's so much you can do with it. We've put a whole boatload of sensors on it that I don't even think the guys when they made the Continental originally would have ever dreamed of having all that parameters and data for it. So
made it more of a modern stylized.
Yeah.
Okay. Just real quick, I want to say thank you to our sponsors that make this channel possible, because we are, now doing this full time, promoting aviation, trying to get more people involved in experimental light sport and ultralight aviation to kind of grow our family. So we have more airplanes in the sky in the future. So that's kind of our mission. So thank you to Fly Dynon, which is Dynon Avionics, Airtech Coatings, which is a paint supplier and provider for you, Airtech Coatings, and Airworx, who does engine rebuilds for Franklin, Lycoming, and Continental. So thank you to our sponsors. What is, well, let's bounce around a little bit. I got some questions here I wanted to ask Andy, but this is primarily been a group build. Let's just call it a group build, right? And there's several group builds going on around the country, whether it's EAA chapters or a club. Talk to us a little bit about what it's like to be able to utilize volunteers and then students through the build process.
So it's a blessing and a curse sometimes. Now I was hired to be a mentor, so I have no excuse for the bad parts. The group build process can be a challenge. You get somebody in here who's never touched a drill before, and they leave here just wanting to learn more. And that's the beauty of it, right? So I had students in here that had the dad never let them touch a tool, and here they are drilling rivets out on an airplane and riveting pieces together. And they're coming back the next day wanting to do 10 times more work, because it ignited that spark. That is the beautiful part about a group build, is you're exposing people to things they've never even dreamed they'd be doing. Even taking that one step further, I had a student from day one, Landon, shout out to Landon Kincard. He's been my rock star since day one. I had 2 Vietnam veterans come in that were mechanics in Vietnam, haven't done sheet metal in forever.
Yeah.
And here's Landon teaching these 2 dudes how to rivet, and it's like, now I've taught Landon a little bit of education and knowledge, and now he's sharing that with somebody else. So
Landon, I don't know if you caught an earlier video this week, captured the very first start of this engine here, and Landon was involved in this project from almost day one, was able to sit in the cockpit, turn the key, and be part of the very first start. And he was smiling from ear to ear for the next half hour until he left the hangar. So that was awesome to be able to give him that experience.
Yeah, I asked him if he wanted to make airplane noises, and he was shocked when I said turn the key.
So anyway, check that out if you haven't. This thing literally turned, I think, like 1 or 1.5 rotations, and bam, fired right up. It startled me, actually, because I was thinking it would crank a little bit more to get things going, but anyway, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, when we did our safety brief before, get the fire bottle ready, I said, I have a lot of faith this is going to work out, but just in case. And I was shocked too. It was awesome to see, just again, with modern technology and the quality standards nowadays, it's really not a surprise that it worked the way it should have, but quite pleasant, especially after two years of building it and finally getting to make
that's the reward. That's definitely the reward. It's like, that was the climax of the day. It's like, just stop working, because you can't get any better for that during the day.
Yeah.
Going back to the group build, what if somebody were to enter into a group build, whether it's an EAA chapter or they start their own little LLC or whatever, what would be some of the things to look out for resources to actually help you stay on track to get it done in a timely manner?
Yep. So I recommend a couple things, and we'll just talk Zenith, right? Because this is a Zenith product, but Zenith has their rudder workshops. They have even going even one step lower than that, Zenith has a binder kit that is aircraft grade metal. It's you know, the AN4 rivets that we're using here. Absolute basic. They even come with a little blueprint to build this thing. It gets somebody experience with using an air drill or a hand riveter. Maybe it's just an electric drill, I guess, too. But it gets somebody experience with using actual. It's not pretend. It's real metal, real rivets. And then as a group now, they can learn something as a whole to give them that little bit of knowledge to actually work on the aircraft. You don't want somebody learning how to rivet on your project.
Right.
So on my first group build, if you will, at a previous employer, I think we got 2 or 3 rudder kits, and that's how we as a group, we had about 35 people, and we all sat down and learned the plans together, learned how to rivet, learned how to do this, learned how to do that. I cheated a little bit because I had an AMP certificate coming into that build, so I actually kind of became a teacher as well.
Sure.
Hey, I learned this in school, or I learned this in the field.
So start very basic with the group,
as basic as you
regardless of where your experience level is with different people. And
yep. And I'll take it now. Let's say Zenith does a great job of trying to get out and about and doing rudder workshops, not just in Missouri. Mm-hmm. In fact, they do one here in December. They did one during Sun and Fun as well, and they do a good job of traveling around. EAA has their sport air workshops. They've got sheet metal, they've got fiberglass. I was just talking to somebody on one of the build forums the other day. They said, "Oh, well, I need a fiberglass part made, and I'm no good." And they said, "Well, you're so good at it, blah blah blah." And it was like, a weekend course, $300, and I've got a whole wealth of knowledge to be able to tackle a project like this. There's one way to learn this, and it's doing it. You're not just going to soak up some YouTube videos and suddenly you're an expert. You're going to make some junk. You're going to make some parts you're not happy with, but that's the beauty of learning. But a sport air workshop through EAA is a beautiful tool. And there's several different topics you can learn in that front, but in some of them you can plan out through your build process: sheet metal, fiberglass, electrical. There's ways to learn this stuff that doesn't cost a whole lot of money. And you're doing it on a different project, but absolute basics. Getting involved is the hardest part. Showing up, and not just showed up once and then I'm going to come back a year later.
And to the point, really, that's what I'm getting at with managing resources, because this is a long-term project, and if you get in group involved, of course, you got life gets in the way. So I'm not sure what these groups are, like 3 to 10 people, but I guess what would you recommend as far as assigning tasks or responsibilities so that people are actually take ownership for certain things? Like I arrived this week and I'm like, you know what, this is a need. I'm gonna take ownership of the doors and glass, which you did the rear windows there, which came out great, by the way. But just take ownership for something. What are the kind of like tips and tricks of maybe in a group project managing resources to help get to your end goal?
Yeah. So for me, I'm almost a project manager at this point. So I have noticed skill sets and characteristics. You're not going to get everybody wanting to do the same job. So one of my students was an electronics geek, and he was always tinkering with computers. I said, all right, you're my Garmin guy.
Okay.
And I want you to comb through this manual. That manual is 900 pages long.
But somebody's got to read through it, right?
Somebody's got to do it. And one of them just wanted to be the guy that studied the blueprints. So while I've got 2 or 3, let's say on a wing, when we got 2 or 3 students that are putting parts together, when we're clicking bits together, and now I've got somebody that's on the blueprints and he's referencing what they're doing and trying to have some sort of flow, because 3 people on that project wouldn't work out.
Sure.
We say building an airplane is like eating an elephant. We were kind of joking about this the other day. Eating an elephant is the analogy. Y'all just can't show up and eat. Sometimes I got to spoon feed you. Sometimes
like a baby.
Yeah. Sometimes you're the guy going out and preparing the meat. So it's one of those deals where everybody's got a different level, and you almost have to be a teacher at some point. You almost have to take the tools away at some point. Sometimes I'm a dad, sometimes I'm a brother, but
yeah.
Sometimes I I will take the drill away from somebody and then go over to the vise with a pair of, some scrap metal and say, this is how to do it properly.
Gotcha.
So that's a little bit of a challenge. And there's a lot of high school builds going on. There's some great aircraft projects being built right now by 14, 15, 16-year-old kids.
Just in the next hangar over, the Lakeland Air Club always has something going on over there.
They've got several, and several projects going on. So they're managing not only individuals, but they're now managing several projects who are all, and they're kids too, right? So sometimes the cell phone's more important than making sure the right Clico or whatever is getting used.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge, but it's absolutely one of the most rewarding things I've ever done.
Awesome. Let me say hello to a couple people in chat that popped up here. Ashish from India. Hello. Peter Toth. Thanks for taking a break from your Challenger project to jump on with us today. Wax Factory. Yes, thank you for that. 3per65. Hi. Left Seat Adventures. Welcome. Good to see you here as well. If you guys have any questions for Andy or myself, go ahead and throw them in the comments so we can get them answered. Want to roll into also, what is probably the most challenging thing on this particular project, and what was the most fun other than the first start?
Yeah, the most fun was that excitement when we started talking about, this is what we're gonna do, and really for me, when I sat down with Zenith to build this airplane, what was in my head to build this plane specifically for this purpose, it was the exciting part was for me after the airplane's done. A lot of people just want to get the airplane done, and for me, it's really about what is it gonna do.
Yeah,
I believe there's a reason we meet people, and I think this airplane is going to absolutely not only change our lives, but it just changes you in many, many different ways. We've talked about all kinds of cool projects. What if we could do this, and what if we could do that? For me, the airplane's the tool, and for somebody else, this is their method there. But the most challenging part of the build so far has been my own head. That windshield is a costly bit of plastic.
Yeah,
and the shipping
$800 to $1,000.
Yeah, $400 to build or $400 for the part and $400 to ship it. It's one of those things where it's like you don't want to screw it up.
Sure.
And I have put things off because I'm like, okay, I'm going to save that to the end. Well, that's where we're at right now. Is all those little bits that it's like, okay, well, we've saved those to the end. And like we were talking, building the doors, it's like, this thing was intimidating, but it's not a hard work.
Yeah,
it's not very complicated. You just have to take your time with it.
You just have to do it.
And it's all mental.
Yeah.
This
get out of your own way.
Anybody can build an airplane, period, plain and simple. It's just getting through those obstacles in your head. I heard as a kid, my dad would say, I can't do that because of this, or can't do that. 99% of this is built with hand tools. Yeah. So it's a lot of it is mental. Like I said, a sport air workshop will clear a boatload of obstacles. A rudder workshop will clear probably the biggest hurdle, and that's getting started. Mm-hmm. Being able to do it. But the youngest person to pull a rivet on this airplane was 3 years old.
Yeah. And
at the time, it was my son teaching him how to rivet. He was 7. So anybody can
teaching
do it.
Kids.
Yes. Yeah. But that's a proud dad moment, but it was also motivation. It was getting you to that next step, starting with that rudder, getting that knocked out of the way and going to the fuselage. The other challenge was kind of an ADD moment, if I can admit that, is having the fuselage going and the elevator going, and I got a left wing over here and I got a right wing over here, and I got this student's working way faster than that student, and I kind of have to separate myself a little bit from time to time and say, oh, what are you doing now? Or I turn around for a second, they'll have something riveted together, right, wrong, or indifferent, and it's like you got to constantly go back and double check and triple check. And, I've got quite a few hours in this airplane, so I have absolute no fear when it comes to first flights and believing this airplane is a safe airplane to fly. But it's because we've had several sets of eyes verifying that process along the way.
Sure. Sebastian, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Nicholas asked where we located right now physically in Lakeland, Florida at the Sun and Fun grounds. at the Aerospace Center for Excellence. That's where we're at the moment. Project 2 Aero asks, who gets the repairment certificate on a group build? Good question.
So in this case, it can be pretty much anybody that feels that they've done that bulk of the work, that they know the airplane. It could be anybody, and it's really ultimately up to the person signing the airplane off and issuing the certificate if they feel that you've done enough work to do that.
But in general, it should be probably the most experienced person of the lot. Yep. Those are going to be responsible for doing your condition inspections each year.
Right. Now, like I said before, I'm an A&P, so I'll probably be the mechanic, and I'll let it. And some of my volunteers are IA mechanics. They're way beyond my experience as well. But in this case, I'd probably be the one filing for the repairman certificate on this one.
Okay, there you go. Well, going back to the group thing, would you do it again?
So it's awesome.
Is that a loaded question?
It's awesome that Sebastian chimed in. So my previous employer was EAA. I've been a part of the 1 Week Wonder. I've been a part of several projects that are all Zenith related, and I'm planting the seed that I would love to do a group build during Sun and Fun, and I think it can be accomplished with a majority of it being youth.
Okay.
I would love to do that. I think it's absolutely something that can be done. The build process is very easy to split up and divide and conquer, if you will. And I hope in the near future that this is not the only airplane that we are using for this mission. I hope we've got several airplanes down the road that are making dreams reality. There's a couple of ideas I've got rattling around in my head for the next airplane. And that's another question we get is what if I don't have an arm, or what if, we can't build one airplane for every disability. So as this kind of morphs and grows, there will probably be something different down the road. But I would love to do a group build during Sun and Fun. I would love for it to be with Zenith. I think this platform that they've got is absolutely amazing and versatile. And I do want to say we recently lost Chris, but thank you to Chris Hines for what we're doing. I would never imagine doing this any other way, but all because of Paul Poberezny and these guys way before us, 1950s, sat down and said, we can do this in our garage, or we can do this in a basement. So thank you to Chris, and thanks to the Zenith family. They've been an amazing part of my life as well.
It's definitely been a fun project because I've followed this, I don't know, probably the past year. I like the story behind it and who's involved, and be able to come down here myself to get some hands-on experience with it has been a good experience as well. So I really enjoyed that. What else we want to talk about here today? We're going to cut it short here in just a minute. We'll cut it short. It's been 30 minutes. I was hoping to catch everybody on their lunch break to share what's going on here. But this should be flying pretty soon. The goal is, I don't want to give you an actual date of completion, but the goal is to fly this to Oshkosh.
Yep. So we've got so the reason that this airplane is being built, we're a campus now for the Able Flight program. So Able Flight distributes scholarships to people with disabilities. And I'm going to roundabout way answer your question. We want to have this airplane safe and ready to go for an Able Flight student. So part of that is we're going to get through the phase 1 inspection. So there's 40 hours right there. And then we want to have just a little bit of flight time on the airplane. There's an old saying out there. You want to have about 100 hours on your airplane before you have absolute confidence in everything in the airplane. So I'm going to try to put a boatload of hours and time on the airplane. And like we were talking the other day, I'd like to get a couple other people comfortable and confident in the airplane. So we've got some long haul trips planned.
Yeah.
And the airplane, the sponsor for the paint is John's 360 Coatings. So he's in, the Gulf region as well. So I've got a route in my head. Oshkosh is one. Probably fly it, drop the airplane off so it can be done for paint.
Well, maybe you can get a list of airports along the way that you can stop off. People can stop by and say hello to you, bring a sandwich or something like that, and have a conversation in between your stops to the paint booth.
Yep. So we're planning on doing the traditional Florida shows in the fall. Of course, we're doing our STOL competition again this December. So we're planning on having the airplane featured in whatnot, the land show as well. We want to get the airplane out and about to tell that story, but really, I hope at some point I step back and it's about the people that the lives are changing. I want that story to happen. So
speaking of, Peter Toth asks, how would someone without the use of their legs fly this? It would be modified like an air coupe, or does that need rudders? Very good question. We'll explain the extra stick that's in this and the brakes and some really unique feature with the throttle.
So thank you for asking that question. We almost kind of missed talking about it. There's a gentleman named Justin Falls, and I believe he's a quadriplegic. He's got a 750 STOL. He's up in the Carolinas, and he's a pilot. And when the idea for this airplane came about, it was kind of like, well, what did they do on that airplane? So Zenith has their dual stick option for this airplane. What they've done is they've basically modified the dual stick mounts to only do one stick, and then there is a direct link bar to the rudder pedals. So we have a left stick in between the pilot's legs will be a bar that connects to the rudder, and we've put a bicycle type handbrake on that. So when they apply the brake, it'll apply both brakes, so they'll go straight ahead. There's a Ray Allen grip on it, and we've used the up and down hat switch on that. We've tied it into a Trio Avionics servo, Autopilot Servo, and that's going to drive a special throttle cable. So the pilot in the left seat will have up and down throttle movement through an Autopilot Servo.
So this Zenith is going to have a fly-by-wire throttle system.
Yeah, and again, they use the same setup on Justin's airplane.
Okay,
and it's there's some proprietary stuff with the Trio Servo, but Trio was on board early, and they said we've got a device that'll work perfectly for you. So
I was asking about that. Can you imagine being on final approach already? You're doing your rudder with a stick versus your pedals and your feet, right? And then you've got a button to go throttle. It's like, is it like on a cruise control in a car? You hit like 5 clicks to get 5 miles per hour, or bump it 500 or 100 RPM, or how does that work through that?
Yeah, so they've got some proprietary stuff in their box, and the Autopilot Servo that they offer is actually very smart. So they actually had to change all the coding inside that servo. It's basically got a solenoid in the box. So when you apply, up or down pitch or roll or whatever is driving it, it applies something and basically shuts off the current to it. So it's not constantly holding in that one position. So for the sake of a throttle with like a friction lock on a throttle, I can hit the button, momentary switch, and it'll go up or down. It'll move up or down, and it doesn't care what it's driving. It could be ailerons, rudder, whatever. In this case, it's a throttle servo or a throttle cable. So when you hit power up, it will stay in that position. And then if I have to manually, as a flight instructor, stay in the right seat, I've got a throttle on the right. So now it's not holding that position.
Yeah.
It has changed it, and it basically shuts back off.
So it's got like a stepper motor type of servo. So it kind of doesn't lock into position, but it does kind of hold.
Yeah.
And at any point in time, you can overpower this servo.
Yeah. So it's like your hand moving it an inch. The throttle does the same thing. It moves it an inch and it stops.
Yeah.
So it's not holding it. So I don't have to fight, I don't have to fight a servo or anything if I need to take over. So it's really cool from that perspective. We talked about it in our last video that we did, and there was a lot of questions like, I got a whole bunch of feedback of people saying, how could you, that's unsafe when you've got the other part is the center stick in the airplane is still there. So you have pitch and roll on the center stick. So the pilot will have their hands on 2 sticks.
Right. And
there was a lot of people like, how could you? You need to have your hand on the throttle for takeoff and landing. Well, I didn't talk about it because it wasn't completed yet, but thank you to those people that did provide feedback. And I didn't want to reveal it because we didn't have it sorted out yet. So there's the nugget on that one. Yeah, thinking like you're disabled getting in and out of the airplane, thinking as a flight instructor, how am I gonna tell a student what to do if they don't have the ability to do it? So safety, trying to do this. So Zenith, with these parts now, it is my understanding that in the very near future, everything's done in SolidWorks at the Zenith factory. So you can order these same parts moving forward as well.
So we saw a video the other night, and this is not aviation, but directly related to disabilities. There's a promo video out there, and I'm forgetting, maybe you can remember the actual company, but Andy's really big into racing and that kind of stuff, follows all kinds of monster trucks and that kind of thing. But anyway, there's a video out there of a quadriplegic ex-race car driver that you see in this video where he's using, something he put in his mouth or whatnot, and he's driving a Corvette around a racetrack. So, and I say that to say the future, and with technology, literally anything is going to be possible. And this is probably one of the very first steps of having an aircraft like this to give somebody that has a disability to be able to make their dreams come true with flight. So I'm looking forward to what technology has for us to give people empowerment to do things that they normally couldn't do.
Yeah. The thought of that gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
So the company is called Aeroelectronics, and their slogan is 5 years out. Sam Schmidt was an IndyCar driver that was paralyzed in a testing accident. And since then, Aero has been giving him some gifts back in life. They built the custom Corvette, and they showed up at the Indy 500 this year with an exoskeleton, and it was cool that he got to walk in. The quote that stands out for me is he said he forgot what the view was like standing up.
Okay.
And going back to disability, Justin passed the same check ride you and I would in a light sport pilot certificate. He's a pilot. So take the disability out of it. You know what I mean? That is the powerful thing for me. Those people inspire me, and it is my dream to work with Aero on a custom built airplane. I think there is just, it keeps me up at night thinking all the cool things we can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've talked about all kinds of other things I'd love to do with airplanes, but that's crazy. The future, I get emotional thinking about it. It's just so cool.
I see it.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to it as well. Guys, I wanted to kind of take up your lunch hour, if I could today, and share this. A couple of you have asked for some more detailed photos or walk around, and I don't think my extension cord will be long enough to go around with. So what I'll do, if you go to the official page for Experimental Aircraft Channel, I've been here all week, but I'll get some pictures of that and put it on the Facebook page for Experimental Aircraft Channel if you want to take a look at that. If you have any questions about this program, or like to get involved in either this program or a future one, Andy, how can somebody get in touch with you or the Able Flight program to learn more about it? Yeah,
so flysnf.org is our website. I'm the only Andy that works here currently. But a lot of people don't know this. They think Sun and Fun just kind of happens for a week and then we all go. We have educational stuff going on 51 weeks out of the year. So the Sun and Fun campus is always open. Everybody is welcome to come on out. If you're in the area, stop on by, say hello. But like I said, you can call the office there and they can get a hold of me. We've also got a Facebook page. I need to do a little bit better job of updating the current progress, but Zenith 750 Cruiser Spirit of Lakeland is our Facebook page. The Spirit of Lakeland concept comes from back in World War II. Lakeland was a World War II training base. Back in World War II, there was a B-17 that the Spirit, the local community pooled their money together and had this airplane, a B-17 bomber, paid for the aircraft and the flight crew to get training and ship off to war. And the community effort was what happened to make that happen. So the Spirit of Lakeland for us is the aviation community. It's the local community. We've had people come out and say, what do you need? Time, money, resources, all kinds of stuff. We had a gentleman this morning, here's my 90-degree drill to get that part done,
and a donut. He drops
got a
off
bonus.
donut.
It's donut day.
A bonus donut. Got a bonus donut.
So, it's really a community effort. I'm a project lead and all this. I kind of like to hang out in the shadows and watch the magic happen with the students learning something and ultimately when this is changing people's lives. So,
yeah.
So AbleFlight is ableflight.org. If you'd love to support their program, I highly recommend it. We do a lot of stuff for the kids here on campus, but AbleFlight really does it for people with the disabilities, and that's their focus. And for AbleFlight, there is no age. A lot of youth programs they cut you off at 19 years old.
Yeah.
AbleFlight does it for people of all ages. So,
gotcha.
One of the cool things, if I can take 2 minutes,
take two more. Just take two more.
The coolest part about this airplane, there's a lot of groups out there that will help somebody, and when they are done with that mission, they got the marketing photo and they're done. This airplane is going to be kept in a flying club here on campus. So you as a graduate of the program will be able to use the airplane whenever you want. And if you're suffering from some sort of disability, sometimes you've lost your job. Sometimes you're on disability. Sometimes, aircraft ownership is out of the picture. So having the ability to get your training here and then come back and fly the airplane when it's feasible for you to do so, I think that was part of the secret sauce when we put this package together. Was if we can't do that, I'm really not interested in doing this. So trying to make it efficient for everybody, and I'm proud of that. That's one of the cool things. I hope down the road we can again have more of these airplanes. But I pride myself in working for an organization that says yes and finding ways to say yes. But I hope that's just a small part of the story of this. Awesome.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to work with you this week and
thank you.
Share with everybody online during their lunch hour what's going on here. So, guys, we're going to cut it off here, end it here. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for those of you that were engaging in comments. If you could, share this video. Tell people about it. I started the Experimental Aircraft channel about 2 years ago to promote aviation. I really have a passion for building and for people. And I love our aviation family and community. So if you can, share whenever you can, help us grow this channel and Experimental Aircraft channel. Visit us at experimentalaircraftchannel.com to get more people involved again in experimental light sport and ultralight aviation. I'll see you in the next one. Where'd my mouse go?
That went well.